You're now, that's what's important. We experience the collapse in our life structure most of the time because we failed to funeralize failed yesterdays. You have to be strong enough basically to realize you can elevate out of your current situation. Instead of looking at where you think you should be by now, look at where you have grown out of. There are many individuals who need help with their blueprint. And I want to be that vessel, nothing special, just that mouthpiece to inspire you to construct the best version of your life that you can be. Welcome to the Life Structure with Eric podcast. Thank you for pulling up on me. Once again, thank you for pulling up on me. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And what you definitely have to promise to do if you're a part of the Life Structure family is share this podcast. Share it out. Share it out. No matter where you're watching from, if it's YouTube or you're listening on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, or any of those podcast platforms, be sure to subscribe and share it out. Share it out. Trying to get those listeners up, trying to get this amazing word that we're sharing, across the nation, across the world. There's so many people that need to hear, these great episodes that, we keep putting out from week to week. God is blessing me, he keeps blessing me, should I say, to keep forming these connections, meeting new people. And I'm grateful to have Miss Shanequa Watkins as my guest today. We met almost a year ago, and I quickly fell in love with her spirit. She kind of makes me feel old because she calls me Mr. Eric. She's one of the few people that I'm connected to um, that calls me Mr. Eric. And but I love her spirit. She's an amazing person, and I'm glad to have her on the podcast today. So yeah, at this time we're going to bring Miss Watkins on to the podcast. How are you, Shanequa?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Mr. Eric?
I am great. I'm great. Glad to have you on. Uh, Always blessed to be greeted by that amazing smile that you have.
Thank
I don't think there's ever been a time that we've been in each other's presence. Even talking to you on the phone, I'll go even further.
you.
Even when you text me, I can feel the smile through the text. So,
Yes.
and you don't, so many people take a smile for granted, but for me, I do not, because just like yourself, I believe in, smiling from the heart daily, no matter what we, have going on in our lives. It's always a blessing to
Right.
be able to smile, you know, to greet someone with the smile, because you
Yeah.
never know what they're going through. And that smile can definitely, be a blessing to them. So thank you for
Thank
always,
you.
greeting, with that beautiful smile. But
Thank you.
before we jump in, Shaniqua, tell our guests a little bit, well, our listeners, I should say, a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little bit about what it is that you do.
Okay. I am Shanequa Watkins. I'm from Louisiana. I've been in Arizona, which is where I am now. I've been here for a little bit over a year, and I met Mr. Eric through social media. Just a blessing from the moment that I met him. And I told him this story and a few of the people in his circle as well. But I met him and I was just really in a place of frustration. So I try to smile whenever I can because me frowning and being upset does not help change my situation or anybody else's that I meet. So if I could smile and change anybody's perspective, their day or whatever, I'm gonna do it. Um, I'm a social worker, I'm an author, I'm a mom. I try to dibble and dabble into a little bit of everything. so that I can learn and so that I can keep growing. And that's just my concept about it all. And I'm also an author. Let me mention that too. Also an author.
Yeah. Speaking from the author point, and that's how we met. You know, you've been an author. You know, I had you. You were one of my authors on the Celebration of Authors showcase, and you know, the guests absolutely loved your energy. They loved your story. Um, Tell us a little bit about Shanequa, the author, the name of the book, and you know what made you write the book, what it's about, and all of that good stuff.
Yes. The title of my book is Dear Neek, Talk to Me. And it's really a book that I wrote to myself to just kind of find freedom. I grew up with a single mom, an amazing mom. I love my mom. And three sisters. And I was raised kind of in the household with my cousins and my aunt. So it was two women and nine kids total. And it was just so many of us, like in the environment that we grew up in. It was just kind of like there were some things that you could tell your parents, not everything, of course, especially in a black household. You just couldn't go to your mom and say, hey, I'm feeling like this. Or if you could say it, we just really didn't know how to say it. So it was just a lot of stuff that happened in my childhood that I couldn't share with anybody. So I tried to bottle it all in, tried to just keep it within. And then when I reached about 15 or 16, I was really in a bad place. My mom met, she was dating, and we were living with her and her now husband. And it was just really hard because I know she was doing her best as a parent and trying to juggle, which I understand now, trying to juggle a relationship of our own, having kids, just all of that stuff. And so I started writing my frustrations out, like how I was feeling, just all of my sorrow, all of my pain. I just started writing it out, and I started keeping journals of it. And when I got older, I said, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna take these journals. My first thought was, okay, well, I want to make some money. I want to be like these people that I see writing books and getting rich all over the world. Plot twist to it all. That is not always the case. You don't get rich just because you write a book. So that was kind of my reasoning behind it, just really to be able to say what I felt like I needed to say. And then as I got older and thought it would make me a millionaire, I just pursued it. But now I've grown to just love the freedom that I have in saying how I feel or what I feel like I need to say.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I keep hearing you say, you know, three times when you pretty much talked about your book, what made you write it. And, you know, I heard you say three times the word freedom. Uh, what is what is freedom to you?
Freedom right now for me is just not right now. It's not caring about what people think, like being able to live and love the way that I want to, or just whatever it might be, and not feel like, okay, well, I have to do this because if I don't do it this way, then I'm going to rub this person the wrong way. So just being able to be free of people's judgment, I'll say.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. You know, and it's that comes with a lot of growth, Shaniqua, because you know, it took me a long time, and I know I'm a little bit older than you, and I would say in the past 3 or 4 years, I've just gotten to that place in my life because for so long, you know, the life that I used to live before, you know, I cleaned my act up, you know, I had so many broken relationships, you know. So when I got my life together and I started trying to do things the right way, then I felt like I was in debt to everybody.
Yeah.
So I was putting Eric's way, the way that Eric should be living, on the back burner because I wanted to make sure that it was almost like I was going to everybody trying to make amends with them. But then I found out you only need to make those amends once. And if they don't accept you for who you are, then move on. But I just felt like I was just forever in debt to people. So I, was living my life in bondage, trying to make sure that I had that freedom, to be able to stay connected to certain people. And I think they kind of knew that, I got him right here. This is
Yeah.
somebody I know that I can count on to do this and this and this and this. And, it took me until about 4 years ago to realize, hey, if people do not accept you for who you are, they don't applaud you for where you were at and where you're at now, then it's time for you to freely disconnect yourself from them and live your life. you
Right.
know, Either they're going to applaud you and support you, or you're just going to totally disconnect. So, yeah, I love that definition that you gave for, what freedom is, to you, because we all need to have that. We all need to have that type of mindset that, you know, because that's the only way that you're going to grow in life, when you can freely let go of certain people, places, and things so
Yes.
you can live life freely. That's why
Yes.
you wear that smile that you wear, because you're living life freely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're only a smidge older than me. You said a lot of just a smidge, Mister.
Okay. Well, stop
Yeah.
calling me Mister then.
Look, it's a habit, Southern habit. I cannot. If my mom listens to this interview and she hears me on there not being respectful, she's gonna call me. So I'm gonna avoid that and be respectful like she taught me to be.
Okay. Well, Mom, if you happen to listen to this, I want you to know, which I know you are already proud of your daughter, but I'm just going to second somebody else's emotion. You raised a wonderful daughter,
Thank you.
and she's gaining ground with some great family here in Arizona. So I
Yes.
know, when your child is out in the world doing their own thing, living, creating their own life structure, you guys worry about us, but she's doing well. She's doing well.
Yes.
So I heard you say when you were growing up, you said it was like 9 of you guys?
Yes, my mom has four girls. My aunt, her sister, she has three daughters and two boys. So just kind of helping each other out because they were both mostly single parents. They
Right.
would keep us together, like we went to some of the same schools, just a lot of stuff so that we could look out for each other in a sense. So yes, we would like my mom worked overnight a lot of nights, so we would all just come over to one house and just it's like we were all just sisters and brothers. So
Right.
yes, a lot of us.
Right. So back to your book. Um you said you journaled for a while and then you started to put it on paper. Talk about some of the journaling that you did. Do you felt like you grew through that journaling? What made you journal, and how did that journaling help you?
Whew. When I went back to read some of it, I guess I didn't understand like what I was really writing. I was just saying what I wanted to say, like to a person. Like, okay, I can't say this to somebody in real life, so I'll write it down and just read it to myself over and over, which is kind of where the journaling started because yes, I grew up with sisters, but it was the whole idea of okay, well, I don't know if they're going to tell. I don't know if I'm going to end up in trouble. And then some stuff you just don't. I'm not going to say my sisters didn't provide a space where I could tell them stuff. It was just that I felt like I needed to keep it all in for whatever reason. I don't know why the reason was, but I kept it all in and I just felt like I couldn't talk to them. So the journaling was really it was like another person. And I know that that's a weird way to say it, but my journal was just another person for me to talk to, really just getting it out to myself like, okay, I'm hurting this day. Okay, I had this experience at school. This person, like, and I made little small lists. Okay, this person said this person said that, and as I went back and read it, and I was reading just the pain that I was feeling in my younger years that I didn't understand, that I couldn't talk about, and it just really it helped me grow. Like right now, I look back, and of course, now that I'm older and I understand a lot more, I get where some of those emotions were coming from, or some of those places of just feeling like nobody was there because everybody was doing their own thing. You know, my mom is living, my sisters, they're growing up and meeting different friends. I have cousins in cheer, dance. Everybody's doing their own thing. And I was at a standstill, kind of, I guess, wanting everybody to just stay where I was so that I could have somebody to come to me on my level. But life does not work like that. You're either going to grow and go with it, or you're going to be stuck. So I'm better now.
Yeah, definitely. Thank God, that you found a way to grow through that pain. And one of the things that I love about your story is a lot, so many times we feel like we're all alone. And we're going through something and we don't talk about it, you know. And sometimes we just feel like we're not connected to anyone that we can really talk about it to. But one of the things that you did sounds like is you use your pen, you talk through your pen.
Yeah.
So you shared your pain with your journal. And now today you have written a book, through the pain that you endured, that you talked to your journal, and now you put it into a book and you are sharing that with people, and I'm sure that someone is going to pick up that book, and you're really going to be a blessing to them, because it's just amazing, because just like you didn't really have anyone to talk to, there's someone that they're scared to talk about what they're going through, but they'll pick up a book because they feel like that book will be able to, help them through,
Yeah.
you know, what they're, in the midst of. So, if there's someone listening right now that maybe are going through some of the things that you went through when you were younger, what are some encouraging words that you could give them?
I would tell them, don't fight it, anything, well, whatever it might be, don't fight it alone. Um, and I know that sounds like really like cliche, because people say all the time, like, get connected and all of this stuff, but really it's easier if you have somebody fighting with you, whatever it might be, bad secrets, sexual abuse, physical abuse, whatever it is. You're not always going to have the answer to whatever it is by yourself. It's a lot easier and a lot better if you tell somebody and let them really help you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't I don't know. And this is something that's not just new today. Seems like this has been a part of our society for years, where we feel that we are weak if we share what we're going through, but we don't realize how broken that we walk around when we're holding it in on the inside, you know, and it gets really, really, really painful when we don't share it and we feel like we'll just walk around and hold it on the inside, because the enemy will get inside of our mindset, and it'll lead us to believe things like, well, don't nobody care what you're going through, you know. Well, don't share with this one because they going through this right here. They don't have time for your story. Well, this person right here, they're gonna laugh at you, right? If you tell them you did XYZ, so we just walk around being bottled down with all of that weight on our shoulders. And if you're not strong enough, you will end up harming yourself
Mm-hmm.
because, all of those voices, because one day all of those voices will just come and it'll just muffle, I'm going to say, the sound of God. And all you can
Mm-hmm.
hear is all of those demonic voices. And I really believe that's where we're starting to see so many people committing suicide today because they're dealing with their pain all the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
All the wrong way. I love journaling. I love journaling. I love reading. You know, I love listening to other people that can help me grow. And it's stuff like that that's going to, even when you can't talk to anyone, all of those three things that I just named, they are all what? Free.
Mm-hmm.
Free. You don't have to pay for any of it. But if you could just take the time, sit down, breathe, and just listen, I guarantee you, you know, these are all self help tools that can help any of us, if we are just willing to be open minded, open hearted, and listen.
Yeah. I can agree with that. For a lot of people, and I'll say for me personally, I had to start with a relationship with God.
Yeah.
And I was raised in church, so I kind of understood what that meant and what that looked like. But I understood, let me say the basics. I understood the basics. But I didn't know, like, okay, you can go to God and you could talk to God and he'll talk back to you. So
Yes, he
I
will.
think discovering that all in itself, because I'm not gonna say just in this time, because it's been forever. And especially in the black community, like, you tell somebody this and people talk about you for saying what you feel like you need to say, or people judge you for just being human. It's bad in the black community. It is really, really bad. And I'm not saying that to like shame our community, but the truth of it is that we need to feel more supported in within our own community. um and I know, like, when I found God, or when I started learning him a little bit more just for myself, I got out of the mind frame that, okay, well, I can only connect with this color person. I started learning to connect with people of God who knew God, who could tell me, okay, well, maybe you should read your word more, or maybe you should turn off this song that tells you, I'm gonna die lonely or whatever, and turn this on. So that played a major part in, I guess, reprogramming my mind to learn just new things. But it is
Yeah.
definitely one of those things that has kind of started trying to take over just the entire world, especially with those thoughts. Like, you have a bad day, and a lot of people, they, instead of calling somebody, hey, I had a bad day, because they're afraid of whatever the person is going to say, they'll, okay, I'm just going to decide right now I cannot live past today, and that's just it. And I think just journaling, well, not, I won't even say journaling, because some people need something different. They need somebody present right there in that moment that they can talk to. And if you don't have somebody, you need to really learn to establish a relationship with God for yourself, because he's always going to be there. He's not going to say, hey, I'm at work. We are his work. We are his job. And he's not gonna say, you disgust me, you disappointed me. He's always gonna surround us with his love, his words. Just he's everything, and really just rebuilding the foundation of my relationship with him changed just everything about how I'm growing, how I'm learning, how I'm changing, just all of it. But the journaling and the talking to somebody part just really adds connection in human form, or I'll say it provides me with one of his vessels when you connect with somebody.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. Life structure. I talk about it all the time. When you're building, you know, um, God has to be your foundation. And that's pretty much what you just summed up. As long as you got God as your foundation and you can talk to him at any given time about any given thing, you're building and you fall short and that stud isn't strong enough and it break, you backslid a little bit. That foundation, it's gonna fall on the foundation, but it's not gonna crack it. He's
Right.
letting you know that's how strong he is. He's never upset with us as long as we say, Lord, please forgive me. And you go right back to building again. He's there. So that's somebody that you always can pour into. And as long as you're pouring into him, he's going to help you grow.
That's
He's
right.
going to help you grow. And that's one of the things, but if we can have more people like the person that you just described, because if you're a God sent, godly individual, you're never too busy for me. You know, like you were saying earlier about what this person is working and this person is this, but if God made you their special project, they know they're supposed to stop what they are doing when you call, because as long as you're not one of those ones that's needy and every little small thing you're calling them, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, that's when you need a little more Jesus. You know,
Yeah.
you haven't you you haven't finished building your foundation. You don't have
Yeah.
a strong concrete slab of Jesus. That's why you still depending on somebody for every little
Yeah.
thing, because some things it has to be just between you and God. you
Right.
know some of the things that happen, so you don't have to go to that person that God put there as your mentor, or just your intercessor, or whatever you want to call them. You don't have to go to them for every little thing. Some things, but if you don't have that relationship, you will.
Right.
you know yeah, so yeah, basically, out of everything that I pretty much heard you say, what I hear means mostly, more than anything, that you adorn your emotional strength, which it takes a lot of emotional strength to move forward. And
Yes.
basically, if we don't change, we don't grow. And if we don't grow, we're not really living. And, you talked about that freedom. Man, that freedom, you have to get to the point that you're just letting everything go. Even when you're presented with something that's bigger than you and I, you
Hmm.
have to freely give it to God and say, God, I trust you. I trust you with my life, so I can move on. Because we have to choose faith over fear and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel if we're trying to get there. So
Right.
I love your story. It's truly amazing. Um, if you could pull one of your most favorite things that you talk about in your book, um, what would it be?
Whew. I would pull my favorite part from the devotionals in the back. Honestly, one of my favorite scriptures has grown to be Jeremiah 29:11, where I read that God intentionally has plans for my life, and
Mm,
that He planned them for me before I was even here, before I was even thought of, how He intentionally thought just about me. And it's the
yes.
same for everybody else. He intentionally thought about you before, you were even here. The plans, the purpose, the people that you were going to reach. That's my favorite part of my book.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And that's amazing, because, God knew who we were before we knew who we were,
Yeah.
before we even came out of the womb and let out that cry. He already had birthed us with the purpose.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're listening and you're still battling with who you are, what it is that you're supposed to do, you really, really need to find a quiet place. You know, for a lot of us, it's our closet. Some people, it's their cars. Some people, it's, by the water. But you really need to find that quiet place and really, you know, get into that, block out the world, push the cell phone to the side, and really, really make that connection with God to figure out, who are you? What
Yes.
is your purpose? What is it that you're supposed to do? Because like Shanequa just said, there's a whole slew of people on this earth that you supposed to be an example for. We all have, been through something.
Yes.
And I myself know that until the day that God takes my heartbeat away, I'm going to be spreading, you know, the word of how God gave me a second chance. Because I know that basically what I was able to defeat, it's going to be a part of this world until the end of the world.
Mm.
It's not going anywhere. But there are so many people that they basically get connected, and they get pulled into, that toxic part of the world, where they're drinking and drugging, and they forget that there's a better way to live. So for me, I know that's my purpose, to just spread, how God can deliver you, if you're ready to be delivered. Shaniqua talks about her pain that she went through, and how she, journaled it. And now she have put it, in a book. That's her purpose. And this book, you can purchase this book, and you can read this book, and you can experience that freedom. You can learn to grab that spirit, that freedom, and build your life, through your, first we have to get rid of that pain. And getting rid of pain is not fixing up the hair, putting on the makeup, or if you're a male, getting that good haircut and dressing up. We got to deal with the inside before we dress up the outside, because the inside is the most important part. I've
Mm.
seen so many people, and I'm sure you have also, Shanique, where you got on the most amazing outfit that anyone could wear, but your facial expression and your body language tells a total different story. You know, someone can look at you and tell you have a lot going on the inside. You know,
Mhm.
you have to deal with the outside. You have to, I mean, I'm sorry, you have to deal with the inside. It's it's, you have to. It's mandatory for you to gut out all those transgressions, but you have to ask God to help you. You have to. Yeah, so man, um, is there anything else you would like to leave us with?
I don't. I don't. I don't know if I even mentioned the name of my book. So I don't think there was anything else that I wanted to mention. I'm just grateful and honored to be a part of this podcast. And Mr. Eric, thank you so much for the opportunity. Your not just your story, but for providing the opportunity for so many people to have the chance to step up and say what it is that they need to say.
Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for taking the time to come on. You did tell us the title of your book at the beginning. Um,
Okay.
but before we close, definitely once again, share with our listeners and viewers the title of your book, where they can purchase it at. I'll definitely be including the link in the footer of the podcast as well. But yeah, definitely share with our people the name of it and where it can be purchased at.
Okay. The name of my book is Dear Neek, Talk to Me. It can be purchased at Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. You could literally type it in Google and it's available at a good bit of stores. I also have a website. It's called Next, so NEQSNAKS.org. And I would just love to connect with you, wonderful people everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, I will have all of those links at the footer when you can look in the footer down with the description, and I will have all her links to her social media platforms as well as where you can purchase her book. So you can definitely connect with her. We do have, I have a few podcast friends these days, starting to grow, you know, um some of the other podcasters that I'm connected to. So I'm sure you'll get some hits from some of them, and you have my permission to go on their show if they hit you up.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely. You have my permission. Um One other thing I meant to mention earlier, and I want to chat about this real quick because I'm sure there's someone that's kind of going back and forth about writing a book. And you told your story when I heard you in your interview with Alex, and you talked about how you wrote your book the first time and you were just so excited to write your book that you
Yes.
just kind of like put it together and put it out, and then you pulled it and you redid it. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I wrote my first book. It has a different title, different cover. Some of the content is different too, but I got frustrated with, I'm not going to say the writing process, but the ending process. I wrote it and I researched how to format it, how to do the titles. I did all of my own editing, all that good stuff. And after that, of course, you want to start reaching out to places to see, hey, who can I get to publish my book so it goes big. I ran into a lot of places that wanted to charge me a ton of money. And one of the last places that I found, they told me that I could publish for free, but I had to take out like I guess they said some of it was explicit, like some of the major parts of my life were too explicit for them to publish, so they wanted to take it out. So at that point, I was just like, no, I'm just gonna publish it just like this. So I published it. I had it on Amazon and another website. And then afterwards, I was just like, you know what? I have to go and fix this. I have to make it what I really want it to be. So I pulled that book. I redid the title. I connected with Mr. Eric, who connected me to someone else who walked me through doing a blurb, all of that good stuff, like how to just put what my book is about in a better way than I did. And just somebody else who was more experienced with writing. She's wiser than me, so I grew and asked for her help through Mr. Eric. But I republished it and just continued doing all my own stuff. But yeah, I put it back out again, and I'm excited to keep writing and do it all over again. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's once again, Shaniqua, that's when we're just not satisfied with an accomplishment. Because I did the same thing with my first version of Life Structure, and the formatting was horrible. It was horrible. So after I ordered my first batch, and no one said anything to me, and I'm saying to myself, y'all horrible. Y'all telling me how great my book is. You know, none of y'all ain't said nothing about how horrible this formatting is. So I hired someone to go back in and format it, and I resent it in. And yeah, because it's one thing to give great words of advice and tell your story in a book, but when you're people that you have that determination
Hmm.
to succeed in everything that you do. One of the things that we learn is presentation is everything.
Everything.
And I was definitely unhappy. So yeah, I did that, and I was so happy when I got, my second batch back. I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So yeah, and your cover is absolutely amazing. The book is amazing, but your
Thank
cover
you.
is I love the color. Love, because I mean I'm a graphic designer, so I love colors that pop.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I love the colors. But yeah, I love the colors. I love you. I love your spirit, and you're an amazing person. And keep telling your story. Um I love how you were very open and receiving when I reached out to you, for the podcast, because you know what the celebration of authors is about.
Yes.
Basically, I created that platform because we write books, and once again, we exhaust our family and friends, and then we're like,
Hmm.
okay, now what? I have this great story that I put together. I need for more of the world to hear my story, but how? So what you're doing is absolutely helping you continue to let people know who Shanequa is, you know,
Yes.
and so you can continue to sell your books. So continue to do the podcast, continue, you know, to make yourself available for events, because you have an amazing story, and there are so many that can be healed through your words. So please continue to do what you're doing. Um, and I look forward. I'll be keeping you in the loop. I look forward to seeing you at my next event.
Thank you so much again, Miss Eric.
Definitely, yes. Thank you for being here, and yeah, thank you, Life Structure family, for tapping in and listening. But once again, make sure you go to that footer and click on the links and definitely connect with Shanequa. Grab her book, and also make sure you share this conversation, with your family and friends. I'm sure that, our discussion will be a blessing to, if not you, someone that you're connected to. So, with that being said, you guys have an amazing week. Thanks again, Shanequa.